This is the early week lineups this week. Been a busy week, but got my setup for this upcoming week. Couple key things to look at. I think paying up at quarterback and running back this week, especially in your 50-50s, is pretty much necessary. I'm gonna start out with quarterback right here. Basically, we got in the baller section, we got Big Ben at 8,400 versus Atlanta, Matt Ryan at 8,300 versus Pittsburgh. That game is just a shootout, and so you got to get a piece of that game in some sense for sure. And Jared Goff at 8,000. They're my three go-tos if I'm spending up. But basically, I'm just going Matt Ryan. Switch that out with Ben Roethlisberger if you got that extra 100. You can make maybe two 50-50 lineups, one with Big Ben, one with Matt Ryan to cover yourself. But, both those defenses are awful. Offenses are awesome. With Jared Goff, Seattle's got a lot of injuries on the defense, and they really weren't that good before the injuries. So, with all the injuries, linebackers, safety, their whole defense is falling apart. So, plus it's a divisional matchup with the previous top dog. So the Rams are going to want to come in and prove that it's their division now. You go down to the mid-tier, we got Kirk Cousins against Philadelphia. Philly just doesn't allow anything to the run, but they have been allowing points. And so all those points go in the passing. And so, I think Kirk Cousins is set for some, Philly's defense isn't easy, but they do give up big yards in the passing game. And we got Matthew Stafford against Green Bay. I'm not as confident on him, but that could turn into a shootout. I mean, Green Bay's got a lot of injuries, though, so it's possible, if that turns into a shootout, there's going to be some big points. But it's also possible, Green Bay just doesn't have the weapons to do a shootout. And then down in the value section, we got Blake Bortles at 7,000. He's really my only value if I'm going value down there. He's playing Kansas City. He's playing at Kansas City. Tough place to play, but he's still playing Kansas City. So shootout potential, or at least catch up if I don't know. This game is just going to be exciting. Wouldn't mind having some players in there just to make it more interesting, but best offense in the league versus the best defense in the league. We're going to see, how good Kansas City really is. And then if you're playing GPP, some tournament lineups, you throw Derek Carr in there against the Chargers. He's at 7,000. And again, Oakland was in a shootout last week. They could be in another one. Mariota at Buffalo, he can get you some points on the ground with his legs. And, Buffalo gives up some points as possible. All those points go in the run, which is why he's not making a 50-50 lineup. But shooting down low in tournament play, he's one of the lower quarterbacks that I'd feel comfortable putting in my lineup. It makes sense to throw a bunch of random guys every once in a while, but a few guys down at that price range that I wouldn't mind throwing in a decent amount of lineups. And Carson Wentz in Minnesota, if this does turn into a shootout, both sides, Cousins and Wentz. And Minnesota's D, just like Philly, is good against the run, but will give up some yards in the passing game. So there we go for quarterbacks. I'm just running through these. Videos have taken a little bit longer. I want to give you the information so you can go set your lineups quick. We got the running backs in the baller section. And these are just my top two. Everybody's top two, basically, but Gurley, Gordon. But my top two in the sense that my 50-50 lineups, I'm putting both of them in. like my 50-50 lineups, which I'm going to give you in the next video that I'm going to drop right after this. I have at least one of them, but I've been going both of them just because I don't think the running backs this week, like, you don't have good matchups in the lower slate. Christian McCaffrey wouldn't be a bad play, but if I'm paying that much, I'm just going to go up to these guys. And in the midsection, we got James Conner versus Atlanta. Atlanta gives up tons of points to passing running backs. So if you don't want to pay for both of them, I don't know which one I'd rather go with. Gurley or Gordon, that's why I want to put them both in. But if you want to pick one of them, put Conner in and then drop down a little bit in price, but I'd say a little bit up in value. Basically, borderline baller section. We got TJ Yeldon. When Fournette's out, Yeldon, puts up big points, and he's only 6,500, and he's playing Kansas City. So my lineups have been Gurley, Gordon, Yeldon, and then I make it work, saving money. And Matt Ryan, Gurley, Gordon, Yeldon. But you'll see that coming up. And then Mixon coming back. Surgery wasn't too intense. He's coming back quick. And Gio is out. Gio Bernard is out. This is Miami. They give up tons of points to running backs. So 7,100. He could be one of the top running backs of the week. You're getting a slight discount for him. For GPP, I'm not really comfortable with these guys in 50-50, but, Aaron Jones, Green Bay playing Detroit. 6,100. Detroit is just awful against the run, and Aaron Jones is the best bet to break one of those big runs. But he is in a committee, so it's hard to feel comfortable with him in 50-50 because defense, Detroit's bad enough that any of those running backs could break. So Jones is the best bet. GPP, I think he's a great addition. Austin Eckler, 6,200 versus Oakland. He's been getting touches. He's behind Gordon, but at that price, he's basically paying off his price. And if they take a huge lead and take Gordon out of the game, let him rest, Eckler could come in and carry the team, get some big points. And Derrick Henry has been awful, but he's playing Buffalo this week. He's been playing really tough defenses. So with the defense he's been playing, you can't even really blame him for how bad he's been. I know he played Jacksonville in there. I'm checking it out right now. Jacksonville, Philly, and who was the other team? So Houston. So Houston's not so awful, but the last 2 weeks, Philly last week, Jacksonville the week before. What did you expect him to do during that time? He's coming in. He's playing Buffalo. I want to say it's been like 23 touchdowns to running backs in the last 12 games. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere in that range. If he gets a touchdown, he pays off his value, and he's a good bet for a touchdown. Moving on to wide receivers, we got for 50-50, we got the ballers section. Basically the same as the quarterbacks, Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. This is the game where you want to have the top wide receivers on the team. Any wide receiver in there, you can get Juju. I got Sanu. But when it comes down to it, these are defense that neither defense can cover anybody on. It's not like when you play New Orleans and you target the second wide receiver. No, in this game, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Jones and Brown, Julio makes his points off of big plays, and Pittsburgh gives up big plays. Like, that's what they're known for. And Brown, they need to make him happy. They need to get him a good game, or else, his frustrations are going to continue. So I think they feed the top two wide receivers. I'm probably going to make a lineup. It's definitely GPP. I'm going to try and make a 50-50. I don't know if I can do it with both of them, but tournament, I'm going to make one with both of them in there. And the next baller, Adam Thielen, sticking with the one odd ball out in a different game. But like I said, Philly stops the run. They give up yards on the pass. Oh, and their price range is Brown is 9,000, Jones is 8,800, and Thielen is 8,300. I think I want Jones more than any of them, but it's a coin flip with Brown and Jones. I think Jones takes a couple big ones to the house, though. But I think Brown gets a couple touchdowns, too. I think they both end with 2 touchdowns each. Next down in the mid-tier, we got Cooper Kupp. Not like, his price does not match his performance. None of these guys' prices match their performance. Except for maybe Sanu. But even still, got Cooper Kupp at Seattle, 6,700. He should be higher. His price should be higher. He's in most of my lineups. Then we got Boyd, 6,300 versus Miami. Tyler Boyd, Cincinnati's wide receiver. He got, I think it was 15 targets last week, and he's still down in this range. I just don't get it. But, so, I didn't get Corey Davis being down last week with all the targets he was getting, and he blew up. And now this week, I don't get Tyler Boyd being down here. He got 15 targets and 11 catches for 100 yards. He didn't get the touchdown, but, with that many targets, the touchdowns are going to come. Dropping down a bit, get a piece if you can't afford Jones, or if you choose to go Brown, you still want a piece of the other side. We got Sanu at 5,600. I guess Ridley is considered the number 2. He's been getting the touchdowns, but Sanu's gotten more targets in the past 2 games than Ridley. So Sanu is getting involved, and those touchdowns will come. Then we got Jordy Nelson, who has had some really good games. He has a really good matchup, and he's only 5,600. For 50-50, if you need to save some money, I don't think there's a better bet than Jordy Nelson to hit his value. He's had 8 targets in the last 2 games. He got a touchdown in both of them. He only had 50 yards last week. He had 173 the week before. He's involved, and they have a good matchup. And so, at his price at 5,600, I think you put him in there, and he's going to hit value. For the GPP plays, we got John Brown at 6,200 at Cleveland. I'm not against having him in there for 50-50s, but I think he's more of a tournament play because he's not boom or bust, but he's a little up and down. And then Marquise Valdez-Scantling. If 2 out of 3 of the other wide receivers on Green Bay, Guillermo, Randall Cobb, and Devontae Adams, if 2 or 3 of them are out, then he's a 50-50 lineup. But even if just one of them sit, he's tournament play. 4,800 at Detroit, and every receiver on their team is injured. So I think you throw him in there. Check the injuries, double check, make sure. But if they're out, I think he's a great play. Tight ends, moving on. we got the baller section. Kelsey every week, even though he's playing Jacksonville, they're going to have some offense. I think Jacksonville focuses on keeping Hill in check, just to try and play the defensive, grind it out yard game and not let him get those big plays. So, I think Kelsey gets a good amount of catches. I think he is somewhat game script proof. I mean, he had that bad first week, but, I think he's going to be involved basically no matter what. We got Zach Ertz at Minnesota in that, I think game that doesn't really have any running going on. That is all passing and possibly a shootout. So he's 7,500. I prefer Ertz over Kelsey. But with the way Kelsey's been performing, I wouldn't blame you for moving up to him. And then if, just like with Valdez Scantling, Jimmy Graham, if two out of three of those wide receivers on Green Bay are injured, 6,100, Graham is going to be the only healthy, reliable receiver that Aaron Rodgers has. The next three after the three lead wide receivers are all rookies. So put Graham in there. If the injuries, wait till Sunday, check where they're at, and I think he's a great play. But my play of the week at tight end is Vance McDonald. I don't know why I didn't write down his price. Give me 1 second. But it's low. It's way too low for what he's been doing. He's down at 4,600. He's my go-to in pretty much every lineup. Tight ends are all over the place. Any tight end can score any week. You're gambling with any of them, even when you pay up. But I mean, you get a little bit safer. But are they going to pay up for their price? Because that's still a gamble. And Vance McDonald at basically minimum price, 4,500 is or 4,000 is minimum, I guess. But yeah, he's basically minimum price, and he shouldn't be that low at all with the games he's been having. So that is my go-to tight end, my play of the week, the one that I am putting in almost every lineup. For defenses, I steered y'all wrong last week, but this week I think it's pretty easy where to go on Fanduel. We got Tennessee 3,900 against Buffalo. Should have just targeted Buffalo last week with Green Bay, but this week Tennessee at 3,900. Basically, my tight end and defense are set. Even my, basically all my lineups, those two. I'll switch it up in some, but in my 50-50 lineups, I don't make a ton of 50-50 lineups, and I'm just sticking with them two. And if you want to switch it up with some GPP plays, or switch it up in 50-50s if you have the money to spend up, we got the Rams at Seattle, 4,700. The Cardinals at San Francisco, 43. Baltimore at Cleveland, 42. And San Fran at Arizona at 38. If I had to, if I was paying up, the Rams are my top choice out of those. If I'm not, I'd rather have San Fran versus Arizona with that price than either of the other two. But Baltimore, they're all decent plays. All right. Well, just quick run through of them. I'll drop another video with just some basic lineups for you to follow, a couple 50-50, a couple GPP lineups, and y'all can go from there. And I'll catch you on Monday or Tuesday to go over how my picks did and how that early week is looking. All right, y'all. Good luck this week. Peace.